schedule has come out. We've started about a minute late, but it's going to be okay. Are we talking about a possible path to the playoff? The college football playoff for the Bearkats. Get in here, have a take, don't suck. The Bearkat Bites podcast is live. I am Fobbs, your host, your writer. The Bearkat Bites newsletter, all of that good stuff is down below. The links are in the description. If you want to hop on there and buy us a cat's coffee, go ahead and do that. It's only $2 to support us. Leave a coffee. You can always leave some more, and you can always become an annual subscriber as well. We're gonna go. We're starting to work on some of our stuff here. We're starting to work on some of our fall plans, especially now that we got the Sam Houston schedule. We're already starting to work on that. Wow. I'm trying to go on Cat Fans right now. Breaking news. I'm trying to go on Cat Fans right now, and I can't go on Cat Fans right now. They're saying contact support. Holy cow. But so that's a little breaking news right there. But I got the schedule here. Sam Houston's schedule has been released. Sam Houston's schedule has been released. And that is exciting. That is exciting because now all of you guys who want to make your plans to go somewhere and see all of these things, you know, which game you want to go to, who are you going to see when you're there? You know, is it going to feel hot depending on where you go? All those type of fun things, that is now a part of what's coming up for you in the fall. I'm definitely making my plans. I've got a couple of thoughts. on the CUSA schedule. So if you don't know it, let me run down some of these. We don't have a banner for everything, a little lower third. We don't have it for everything, but let me run down. They start at Troy September 5th. September 12th, they come home versus Tulsa. They're an upstart team. Troy was the runner-up in the Sun Belt Conference. They got another home game the week later after the 12th against Nicholls State out of the FBS. They're going to party like they're in the Southland Conference. And then they go out to Texas Tech. Now, this is a big one. That's a big one. Out at Texas Tech. Texas Tech won the Big 12 a year ago. Texas Tech was the playoff representative from the Big 12 a year ago. So that's going to be a great game out in Lubbock. Home versus New Mexico State, October 1st on a Thursday. This is them starting their home slate. The midweek slate in October. They're at Liberty October 8th. Got a bye week before the Tuesday games at Missouri State, October 20th, October 27th. Home game on a Tuesday night in Bowers versus Western Kentucky. It's supposed to be an El Nino year, so hopefully it's a little cooler. I think that means cooler temperatures in the South in the winter. I don't know. November 7th at FIU at South Florida. November 14th, you're home versus Kennesaw State. Right after that, the following week, these are the Saturday games because it's in November at Jacksonville State. So in two back-to-back games, you're facing the Conference USA champion, KSU, and then the runner-up, Jacksonville State. Now, the Jack State SID would get very mad at me if I called them Jackson State. But and then they finish up at Middle Tennessee. What do we think of this schedule, guys? What do we think of this schedule? What do we think of the Sam Houston schedule? Sound off, okay? Let me tell you something already. Good news, bad news. Good news, Sam Houston does not have to travel as far as they did last year. Hawaii, Oregon, all points west. They don't have to do that anymore. It is going to, the furthest west they're going is New Mexico State. Easy money. New Mexico State, Texas Tech. That's easy money, right? I want to say if I'm correct, furthest east you're going to go is South Florida to play FIU. Bad news, if you're a fan, these away games the destinations of these away games aren't as nearly as pretty as the other ones. Now, we did a whole post and a newsletter, which is why you need to get down there and subscribe. We did a newsletter last year, post about the top destinations that Sam Houston was going to. And there were some pretty good ones. I mean, you had Hawaii, you had Portland, Oregon with the beautiful fall colors. Now, Now we've got to go out there. Remember, we posted all those pictures and things. It was great. Hawaii just speaks for itself. That's paradise, right? You had Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is a hauntingly beautiful place. Not hauntingly, but a low-key beautiful place. You had Nashville, Middle Tennessee. You had these. This year at Troy, at somewhere in southern Alabama, at Lubbock, Lynchburg, Virginia for Liberty. FIU, South Beach. Okay, I'll give you that one. South Beach. South Beach. And then you got at Jack State. You've got at Jack State. So you got 2 trips to Alabama. You got 2 trips to southern Alabama. Look, one is in September and one is in November at the end of the year. Very, very strange and unpredictable. Oh, I'm sorry. At Missouri State. Well, yeah, you got Columbia, Missouri, which I was trying to do hopefully maybe I can do a post about the top away destinations for Sam this year. There aren't very many. It is a lightweight competition. But maybe Springfield, Missouri is okay. When I worked back in news, my full-time news days, I knew a guy that went to Missouri City. Fun fact, we got to go see the Dallas Cowboys game. I got to cover it, and he was so happy because I think one of the offensive linemen for the Cowboys went to Mo State. So while I got some sound, he went in to question the guy, get some sound, and he had a great time. So I love creating those moments for people when I'm blessed to be able to, right? But I digress on that. So that's Missouri State. So I have kind of a soft spot for Missouri State. But overall, these destinations, you take out South Beach at FIU, not very cool. Not very cool. Now, last year we picked Oregon as our away destination. Do you all think we should pick FIU? Now, I'm a married man that will likely be expecting children at that time. But it is my birthday, November 3rd. Should a married man that is expecting a child take an away trip down to South Beach to cover a mid-major football team? That will be the question that dominates us this offseason. What do you all think? In my gut, in my Christian gut, I say no. I say no. I say I maybe need to take off work, head up to Columbia, Missouri in October. Maybe get one of those Tuesday games in or something. But nah. I'm looking at the away games for where we're going to take Bearkat Bites. And again, if you all hit the link in the description and get us a cat's coffee, $2,000. If we get that, we can go to every game. I will go to every freaking game. Let me tell you something, by the way. I'm digressing a bit, but I have been hired on at a newspaper locally in Texas. I have bylines in the Victoria Advocate, and they really would like me to go out to cover Texas A&M football this year. Now, that doesn't mean I have to, but my day rate, I could pretty much run it up on them, So some of these games for me personally going to be kind of tough to attend. Now, we don't know the start times for these. I might be able to do both. Maybe Huntsville's close enough to College Station that if Huntsville plays at 11 a.m. and Sam is at 3:30, we can kind of make that happen, or vice versa, or if they're at 3:30 or later. But so that's what I'm saying. But if we get $2,000-$3,000 here to support Bearkat Bites, I won't go to any A&M games. We'll go all Sam Houston, right? But yeah, take off like 800 of that, because again, I'm not sure that a married man should be going to FIU. Should be going down to South Florida to cover a middling football team. A man expecting children. I don't think so. What do you guys think about that? Let me ask some of the 20-something-year-old single burners. What do you all think about that? What would you guys do? Have some sidewalk slammers on South Beach, huh? Pour some of that. What was that in there? Some of that bourbon, some of that stuff, and just go out there, huh? Interesting schedule overall, though. Interesting schedule overall. I looked at it. Let me say something. Let me go glass half full first. This is a playoff schedule. This schedule, it doubles as a path to the playoff for Sam Houston. Why does it double as a path to the playoff? Because you've got 2 FBS conference champions. Now, that's Kennesaw State for Conference USA and Texas Tech, who was a playoff team. And you've also got two runner-ups. So Troy was a runner-up. Jack State was a runner-up. You got two runner-ups and two conference champions. If you're able to run the table on this schedule, and Texas Tech goes on to win the Big 12, it's going to be hard to say that Sam Houston is not the best G5 program in the country and warrants that G5 spot. Now, am I coming to you saying, whoa, that's going to happen? Whoa. Come on. I don't do that type of podcasting. I don't do that type of reporting. I don't do that. You know what I'm saying? That's why we don't have thousands of people here. But I only have the best here, by the way. We don't need thousands of idiots storming into the comments with their dumb crap. You know, you can go see Andy and Ari on 3 for that. You can go see them for that. JD Pickell. You know, these people who I like, by the way, but they get the dumb comments because they got thousands of just, you know, the masses are asses. That's what a sales guy told me years ago when I got in the radio. But it is in theory a playoff schedule for Sam Houston. It is in theory. If a G5 team, if any team out of Conference USA runs the table on this schedule, they're probably going to the playoff. They've got the inside track right there. You know what I mean? Now, unless, you know, UNLV's undefeated or somebody like that, but, you know, more than likely, though, they've got an inside track. What do y'all think about that? What do y'all think about that? Does it excite you when you hear that? Let's see here. Let's see what we got in the comments. Playoff teams. Oh, hold your horses. You know, and that's why I was, you know, some of you all here, again, we've got classy, sophisticated followers here. You all know that, a lot of my headlines and bylines are tongue-in-cheek. They're meant to bring attention, and then you'll read or you'll listen here, and it's a deeper conversation. So, you know, some of that's tongue-in-cheek, but let me just say it again. This outlet, the only outlet, independent media outlet covering Sam Houston football year-round, by the way, is not a exclusively, by the way. Yeah, this outlet does not say that they'll get to the playoff, but it is exciting to look at. It is exciting to look at and say that this could be a playoff schedule, right? Now, the next question, or this may have been your first question during the first 12 or so minutes of our discussion here. What is going to be Sam Houston football schedule? What's going to be Sam Houston's football schedule? Man. Let me say this. Given what they brought in during the offseason, given the material, the players that they brought in, the quality, if this was this year's team, if we had this year's team with last year's schedule, I'd be a little more giddy. But this is a tough gauntlet. Again, Troy, the only real bad game they had was against in conference, you know, on their level, was against James Madison in the Sun Belt Championship, right? By the way, that game, everyone says, oh, which one's not as bad, Sun Belt or CUSA? Well, we're going to find out some of that September 5th to open the season when the Cats travel to Troy. Tulsa, they only won like 3 games, but they did beat a P4 team. They beat a Big 12 team out of Oklahoma State, right? Now, they were limping, Oklahoma State, but even for Tulsa, who only won 4 games last year under Trey Lamb, that was a huge accomplishment. So they're not going to be an easy out. Nichols, they only won 4 games last year. That should be an easy out. That's really only gimme in the first 3 games. If we take these 12 games into 3-game chunks, you know, at Troy versus Tulsa versus Nichols, that Nichols is really your only guarantee today. Now, spring ball starts next week. We haven't seen a lot of these guys in action. We definitely haven't seen them all work together. Surprises could happen, but really only guarantee is that. Then after that, you head to Texas Tech. You're at Texas Tech, which, again, Joey McGuire's got it cooking out there. They're backed by that big oil money. It's going to be just like the Texas game last year in Austin, where you're going to feel the force of that, you know. Then versus New Mexico State, which I say New Mexico State should be easy every year, and it's not. It's either a tough game or like last year, they lose it. So home versus New Mexico State, but they should win that one. And then you hit the road to go to Liberty, who only won 4 games last year, but Jamie Chadwell and those guys, that group, they're going to be angry, and they've got a lot of that money from a certain group of people. Whatever that means. What does that mean? Like, what does it mean to you? That's what it means. But they got that Liberty money. Let's say that Liberty Bibbity. So that's going to be tough. So at Texas Tech versus New Mexico State, then at Liberty. Okay, New Mexico State's probably the only one that I would say today is a win. Liberty, if it was at home in Bowers, I feel a little more comfortable saying that. But they got to go to Lynchburg during the week. So, and then you're at Missouri State, who played at SMU pretty well. When SMU went up there last year, remember, they played them pretty well, did Missouri State. And SMU went on to beat Miami, who was the runner-up in the college football championship. So that's not an easy out. Missouri State's not going to be easy, and you got to go to Springfield. You're versus Western Kentucky. Now, that's at home, but Western Kentucky's always pretty good. I want to say that Tisdale kid, I think he's going to be their starter. There were times I thought I would have rather had him than Maverick McIver last year. I don't know if that kid's still there. I need to see who at Western Kentucky transferred out and what they brought in, but I know that they're always tough. I know that Sam Houston hasn't beaten them since 2004. Okay. And then you're at FIU, and who is always tough. FIU is always a tough game. They blew them out here in Houston last year. Willie Simmons has it cooking. Woo, Sam Houston versus them South Florida boys. I don't know. Like I said, that's another reason I probably don't want to go to that one in South Beach. But again, we'll ask you 20-something, you single burners, should a married man expecting children travel down to South Beach to cover a mid-major football program? What are your thoughts on that? So that 3-game chunk, I don't know that today. Where is the win? At Missouri State versus Western Kentucky at FIU? I don't know. Versus Kennesaw. And then the final ones are versus the conference champion of last year, Kennesaw State. Then you're at the conference champion runner-up, Jacksonville State. And then you're home for the always limping at the end of the race of the college football season, Middle Tennessee. So obviously, I think Middle Tennessee should be a win, although they did beat Sam Houston pretty thoroughly last year in Murfreesboro. Man, I got to say today, this is a 4-win team. Today? Are some of you all going to unfollow me? Do you hate me when you hear that? Do you hate me when you hear that? That I think that today this is a 4, maybe 5-win team. So what that means for me, if they win 4 games, they look good in 2 or 3 others. So that's what, 7, and others you just didn't look great. Is that enough for you? Would that be enough for you as we sit here on March 18th, the season just under 6 months away? Is that going to be enough for you as you're sitting here right now? What do you think will happen? New Mexico is a trap game. Yeah, New Mexico. Now that's the good one. I'm glad you caught that one. New Mexico is the trap game, be on a short week. 5 wins and get to a bowl game, man. YOLO. Somebody says YOLO on the South Beach trip. so I'm sure that'll go well when I tell my wife, hey, YOLO. Hey, I listen to these. I listen to some of my burners, many of whom are in their 20s. They said that, yeah, while you're expecting and barefoot and pregnant, I'm going to go down to South Beach and I'm going to write about college football. Hope that's okay. I'm going to mention your name, General. I'm going to mention your name. Is that okay? I'm going to mention your name. But yeah, 5 wins and they make a bowl because people opt out or APR stuff. I mean, hell, that works for Rice. That's how Rice gets to a bowl every year. Stamp it. These comments here. Someone says stamp it about taking the South Beach trip. I don't know, man. Woo, I don't know. We'll be expecting by then. So normally that's a trip that I could convince her to come with me on normally. But we'll be expecting by that time. So I'm not sure how many more of these roadies. We're gonna have to bring her around in September. I believe if we go to the Texas Tech game, she'll be able to come with me. So she will be in Lubbock with me. By the way, I love doing these with her. Some of y'all have seen her when she's when we're at CUSA kickoff. You've seen her holding the questions for me, and even deeper. And a lot of reporters who again are single and kind of grouchy, not all grouchy. Shahan Raj is great. They don't realize the benefit of having a sweet-hearted woman around you when they're talking to these guys, because she's a school counselor. So she was talking to these kids that just, 13 years ago, 13 or so years ago. She would have been talking to them, social emotional learning. They pick up that energy, and you all wonder how you get these great questions, these responses. That's how. I tell her, baby, I just need you to stand there and smile at them. I'll do the questions. And they're going to sing harder. They're going to sing like they on Showtime at the Apollo. R.I.P. Kiki Shepard, East Texas native. Since I got my Huntsville guys, hold on. Let me do an aside real quick. Now, some of the burners, some of this is going to sound like I'm speaking another language. Y'all want, what's some of that? I don't give a damn if you know it or not. Rest in power to Showtime at the Apollo legend, Huntsville, Texas, East Texas, Tyler, Texas native. And she proudly said it on the show, too. Rest in power to Kiki Shepard. As a 90s kid, every night in Houston, UPN Channel 20, not every night, but Saturdays at 11 p.m., Showtime at the Apollo. And after the Sandman got through sweeping off the ones that suck, here's Kiki. Who's it gonna be? Which one's gonna win? R.I.P. Rest in power, Kiki Shepard. Rest in power. All right, there you go. Amen. Now, some of y'all that didn't make sense to what I said, and I don't care. Just drop an amen in the comments. Will I be able to make the first weekend of spring practice? That is next Saturday. No, I will be there April. I will be there. I am planning a day in April. So that's what we are looking at. I actually got in touch. I'm in touch with Coach Longo, candidly, take you behind the scenes. I'm in touch with the coaching staff and all those people about just working out a Saturday. My plan is, so during the day job, it's tough to kind of get out there. I am not to like toot my own horn, but I'm pretty damn important at my job. So I'm leading, but what that means really, I'm leading these trainings and things. So it's hard for me to jump up and head up there because it's not that far, but it's hard for me to jump up during the week. And I've talked with sources in the coaching staff about this. So what I'm going to do is take a Saturday, just get up there early, just interview a bunch of people, and it will be better if you also think about it. We interview them. We're excited. We're going to hear from them at the start of training camp. What do you think about this guy? Well, I don't know. Well, maybe we'll see him later, blah, blah, blah. So it's better to talk to them later on in as they get into this process. When guys start to separate themselves, you're going to get a much richer tapestry of responses. And for you as the viewer and the observer, you're going to be able to, okay, well, that makes sense. Does this track what I'm seeing? You'll have much more data points. So it's all going to work out. Spring's always kind of odd for me to do. It's always kind of odd. Summer is a little easier because people at the job, people are taking vacations. Bowl season, if they make it to a bowl, that's going to be super easy. Because when I started this new job in December, everybody was gone. It was just me reading stuff on the virtual because I work remote. It was just me reading stuff. So if Sam Houston makes it to a bowl, that'll be pretty easy to do. But spring is always kind of tricky for me because it's the audit time and all that stuff. But we'll definitely overall we will have coverage. I'm going to be looking at data points. I'm going to be looking at videos, hearing things and kind of bringing them to you. We're definitely going to have some coverage. We were slated to come back next week. We were slated to come back here and do the podcast next week. But I told you all, if the schedule is released and I'm able to validate it as legitimate, which I was able to do, then we'll jump back on and talk. So we did that. We kind of knocked that out. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of taking you behind the curtain. as we get into this. And I told y'all a little bit before we started, took the hiatus. It's been a topsy-turvy year already. Let me tell you guys that. But whose isn't? Whose isn't? I mean, if I put y'all on here, I'm sure I could have y'all sing a sad story also. So we try to keep it light here. We try to keep it goofy. Like I said. And so with that being said, I'm going to give your name and say that General Sam said that a married man that is expecting a child, and she'll be a few months pregnant at that point, should be in South Beach covering a game. So I'm gonna do that, and I'll make sure it's the day before. What do y'all think about that? I should probably let her know that literally the day before. So that game is on Saturday, November 7th. So what do y'all think about November? What do y'all think about November 5th as I am packing? How about she come home as I am packing and say, "Oh yeah, by the way, I know you're a couple months pregnant, but General Sam way back 6 months ago told me to go down to South Beach to cover a mid-major football team." The only thing that would make that worse if Sam only has like 3 wins at that year at that point. Let her know your plans. Let her know after my. Oh, okay. So here's what we should do. I should just. Well, I don't want her to be worried about me because I worry about her when I don't hear from her and things. So I will text her. I should text her. I'm fine. I'm on a plane. I'll text her that when she calls. How about that? There we go. I'll text her your name, and I'll text her that what you said, and that I was advised that this is the best way to tell your pregnant wife that you're going to South Beach to cover mid-major college football. The best way to do it was to simply sit on the plane so that you wouldn't have to worry about missing me, right? You wouldn't have to go through the anxiety of missing me. It's already happening. There we go. Oh, you burners with the advice. I love it. That's how the burners are getting these ladies. But overall though, to kind of tie it all back together, right now today, as we get ready to start spring ball next week, and and the other thing too, Conference USA is topsy-turvy. Kennesaw State was coming off a 2-win season and won the whole thing. And when I talked to them earlier that year, they didn't expect that. They didn't expect that to happen. You could tell when I talked to them when the CUSA kickoff, and they ended up winning. And I reposted some of their interviews, and some of them liked it and retweeted some of the players. What I'm saying is that could be Sam Houston, but right now I'm going to say 4 wins, maybe 5. 4, maybe 5. And we have to decide. You got some time to decide if that's okay with you. Is that enough from Phil Longo, from year 2 of Phil Longo? Yeah. Now this is a good point. KSU, they lost a lot, but they were able to keep their coach. They were able to hold on to Jerry Mack. I think that was huge. And so we're going to release a newsletter tomorrow with some thoughts a little bit deeper about each of these opponents that Sam's going to face. And one thing I did say is that I wrote in there is that was huge for for Kennesaw State to hold on to Jerry Mack, their coach. Because Memphis was looking at him, I believe even maybe Southern Miss after Charles Huff left to Memphis. There was a little bit of buzz going around him, right? So at least another year. So that was big. But like you said, a lot of those guys are gone. They're not there anymore. Kind of like Sam Houston, they were really competitive. They compete at the highest levels in Conference USA a couple years ago, and then they lost a ton of people. So that could be Kennesaw State. That could be them. So we'll see. Like I said, Middle Tennessee, that seems pretty easy, but again, they lost to them last year. New Mexico State seems pretty easy. Again, they lost to them last year. Nicholls State should be pretty easy. So those are the 3. Truthfully, when I'm going through that schedule, I don't even know what the 4th one is. Troy, no. Tulsa. Tulsa is on the rise under Coach Trey Lamb. I'm counting Tulsa, but I don't like it. I don't feel comfortable doing it. Nicholls, I feel comfortable. At Texas Tech, no. Versus New Mexico State, yes, even though they lost. At Liberty, Liberty wasn't great last year, but no. At Missouri State all played SMU pretty tough. SMU beat the Miami team that was the runner-up this year in the CFP playoff final. No. Home versus Western Kentucky, no. I default to no for the Western Kentucky game. At FIU, no. Versus Kennesaw State, no. Jackson State, no. To the point, maybe Kennesaw State. At Jack State, no. Versus Middle Tennessee, yes, even though they lost them last year. So that's 4 and a possible. Really, if you take off Tulsa, that's 3 and a possible. That's 3, and maybe you beat Western Kentucky. Maybe you beat that Kennesaw State team that's limping after they lost all their guys. There's a path. It's all in front of Sam Houston. What a very unique schedule. Obviously, I think fans will like this one better than last year. I think they'll like this one. I think you all like this one better than last year, right? There's a lot more things games you can travel to. We don't have to stay up until 3 a.m. writing about Sam Houston's loss to Hawaii. Oh, goodness. Ugh. You all need to tip the cup just for that. I stayed up watching all of that. Now, it was on the Hawaii network, and they have a great broadcast team. That was good. If it was boring, probably would have been even worse if it was a broadcast team that sucked. But it's pretty good. Pretty good stuff from Sam. So we'll see. But we have 6 months to chew on that. We have 6 months to dissect and break it down. I'm going to start kind of going through these teams and seeing who they have, because when spring drills, there should be the 2026 rosters up. So that's exciting. But anyway, you guys, we'll see you all. Be blessed. Take care. All college football is good college football. Until next time, guys.